And with that, I am going to welcome you to the first episode of the Between Two Brands podcast. I'm your host, Bill Petrie. With me, not as always, so our first guest is coming up in just a bit. But before that, let's get to a little business. In 2025, your clients are looking for far more than just a product with a logo on it. They're looking for rock solid merchandise solutions that are more than just innovative. They're going to be used for months and years to come. So let me introduce you, or in some cases, reintroduce you to the good people over at Coaster Stone. Now, they're the original manufacturer of the absorbent coaster stone coasters. And they have unmatched durability, quality, and gorgeous edge to edge decorating that allow your creative designs to come to life in full and vibrant full color detail. Now, since 1983, Coaster Stone has set the standard when it comes to delivering a retail inspired experience to any client function. Instead of boring and plain packaging, how about packaging options that are customizable? Coaster Stone delivers value far beyond the product itself. Now, with that combination of stone cold quality, striking decoration, cost per impression, and unmatched value, David Glenn and his team are ready to help you make a rock solid impression with your clients. So email them at promo@coasterstone.com to start your next project today. So, this is the first episode of the Between Two Brands podcast. I probably am coming across a little nervous. I am a little nervous. It's the first time I've had the opportunity, the platform to do a podcast myself. I've always had a partner to do it with, and maybe that's a good segue to kind of wrap a bow on promo up front, my partnership, my collaboration with Kirby Hasseman. PPAI had written a really nice article last week that dropped by John Corrigan, and that really said a lot of it. Over the years, Kirby and I have, for those of you who don't know, Kirby and I have done a weekly podcast, or had done a weekly podcast for almost 8.5 years, 442 episodes, whether it was the 206 of Unscripted, or which was over at Promo Corner, or the 236 over of Promo Up Front, which was hosted on my website, Brand of Eight Marketing. That's a lot of weeks consecutively. We only took a 5-week break when I left Promo Corner in 2020 and ended the Unscripted podcast and came back for Promo Up Front. And there have been times over the course of our relationship where, I was tired of the weekly grind that can be weekly content, regular content, and especially a podcast. But Kirby would talk me out of it. And vice versa. There were times Kirby would say, I just think I might be done. I'd say, let's keep going. And so when Kirby approached me in September of 2024, I thought very quickly about it, but it felt right. It felt like it was to do that. And I might be being a bit redundant. Truth be told, I'm recording this section of the Between Two Brands podcast before Kirby and I are recording the final promo up front later this afternoon. So we might cover a little bit of this. So I apologize if I'm being the redundant man of redundancy, but I am going to share what I think I'm going to miss about that, which I don't think we're going to talk about on promo up front today. I think I'm going to miss that familiarity. One of the great things about doing weekly content with someone like a Kirby, you build trust. You build such a high level of trust. Not only that your partner is going to show up and bring it, but a trust, when they're about to speak. They know when you're about to speak. And so over time, you start understanding the rhythms and how it's all actually going to work out so that it becomes almost rote, not in a bad way, but in a way it became so familiar to us. It's one of the reasons we always said we were never going to edit the podcast. And unless there was a technical glitch, we generally didn't. So I'm going to miss that. But what I'm excited about is twofold. One, let's bring Kirby back in for a second. Kirby and I are close friends. We've been close friends for years, many years, and that hasn't changed. There's nothing sinister about the ending of promo up front. It was just time. So given that, I did ask Kirby. There are certain things we did on promo up front that I personally don't feel comfortable continuing without his involvement. And that was the Powerhouse Women of Promo list that we started about 6 or 7 years ago. And it's become something in the industry. I just don't feel comfortable doing that with somebody else. So he is committed to being part of that podcast. Also, when the PPAI 100 is revealed, I think that's one of those podcasts people look forward to where we kind of talk a little bit about what we agree with, what we don't agree with, what we'd like to see happen. The folks at PPAI might not like that, but them's the breaks. I'm kidding. I think they're fine with it. And then the final one that he's definitely going to do every year is the ASI Power 50. We always talk about who should be on it, who was left off, that should be on it, and all those things. Kirby's going to be here on this podcast, the Between Two Brands podcast, to be part of that. And I'm excited about that. And Kirby's also, he's going to be a guest here too. Not just the, oh shit, someone didn't show up, because that's the risk you run when you have a guest driven podcast like what Between Two Brands is. But also just because I like talking to him. There's that comfort level that I talked about. And I'm going to be on Delivering Marketing Joy here in a few weeks. So, we are still going to collaborate. You're not going to get rid of Bill and Kirby that easy. I'm excited. He's got some things in the works. I don't know exactly when he's going to reveal that. So it's not my place to do so. So I won't. But I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm nervous, which is a good feeling. It means I care. So I thought what I'd do today, I had a topic in the spirit of what I do. I'm doing it off the cuff. So I'm not going to talk about that topic. What I thought I'd do is talk to you, the listener. And first of all, thank you for giving this a chance. And I hope you give it a lot of chances, because let's be honest, this might be rough for a few weeks until I get my footing hosting something solo and then bringing someone on board as a guest. So I would ask that you have a little grace with me, have a little patience. I don't know what this is going to evolve into, and that's part of the danger, but also part of the excitement. And I'm really honored that any of you are willing to take this little ride with me. So I want to share about the format of the podcast. So the way I envision it is the first 5-10 minutes or so, it's going to be exactly what this is. It's me right now. It's me talking. It's going to be generally heavily promo related, something in our industry that is impacting others, something that catches my attention, something that I think people would like to hear my opinions about. And gosh, that sounds so damn pompous to say. But I said it, and in much like every other podcast I've been a part of, I'm not going to edit this either. So I'm leaving that in there. So take that in the spirit in which it's intended. But I do think there are some people that like to hear what I have to say, and I'm always appreciative of that. So I'm going to continue to do that. After that, I'm going to bring in a guest every week. And this week it is Nick Lateur, who's going to be here shortly, and we'll have a little bit of fun there. And what I want that guest to do is bring in topics that I have no idea what they are. That to me was one of the real secret sauces. One of the things that made Promo Upfront so successful is that Kirby would bring in topics and you would get my honest reactions. And I would bring, because I didn't know them. And same thing with Kirby. I would bring in topics and get Kirby's honest reaction because he had no idea what they were. And we always envisioned that podcast to be, let's talk about the things everybody's talking about at the bar, but bring them to light. And I really still like that concept. So Nick's going to come in, bring a couple topics. I have no idea what they are. So we'll get off the cuff responses from me, and we'll have a little conversation there. And then I'm going to ask him what I call 5 easy questions. Now, the theme or the thought behind, the inspiration behind Between Two Brands. There was a show a few years ago from the comedian Zach Galifianakis called Between Two Ferns. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go to YouTube, put in Between Two Ferns, and it is hilarious because he is intentionally asking his guests awkward questions. There's something funny about that. And I want to take that same concept, but bring it into the branded merchandise space. So I'm going to ask Nick some questions. and they're going to be a little bit cheeky. No, none of the questions are ever designed to embarrass anybody. None of the questions are designed to make anyone look bad or be defensive. And so, to that end, I have shared the one question where I think Nick might feel a little blindsided. I never want to do that to him or any future guest. So I will absolutely not do that, but we're going to have fun with that. And I think it's going to allow you to get to know some of the people you think you know in the world of promotional products, maybe a little bit better. And I'm excited truly about that. So, that being said, that's the format of the podcast. It's going to last hopefully about 30 minutes or so. We'll see how it goes. And it will evolve in time, just like Promo Upfront did before this podcast. And before that, just like Unscripted did. If you ever listen to episode 1 of Unscripted, it may be the worst performance in podcast history. So, with all of that said, if you are interested in being a guest on the Promo Upfront podcast, too bad. It's over. What I meant to say was, if you're interested in being a guest on the Between Two Brands podcast, I'd love to have you. Please send me an email at the letter two, or letter two, number two, B2B at brandof8marketing.com. We'll try to sync up some calendars, see if we can make it work out. In the meantime, I really, I know Kirby is too, but I'm talking about me today. I'm so profoundly honored that so many people reached out over the last week or two, told me what Promo Upfront has meant to them, whether it's just been entertainment or helping them in their career journey or talking about things that other people maybe should be talking about. And so I am profoundly thankful for that. I feel responsibility to make this podcast the best it can be. I want it to be entertaining. I want it to be fun. I want it to be enlightening. I want it to be engaging, and I want it to be informative. Time will tell if it's going to be all that. That's for you guys to decide. And again, I appreciate you for going on the ride with me. So, with that being said, I have one quick sponsor read that I'm going to do, and then we're going to take a break, at least here where I'm recording, bring Nick Lateur on and have a little bit of fun. But in the meantime, thanks so much. Hey, but real quick, before you go, listener, have you heard about the great things going on over at Promocations? Well, the fourth promo cruise is setting sail in March, and after that, it's the first land-based event of the first promocation, if you will, in Los Cabos, Mexico. Now, there is still one supplier spot left for the promo cruise, which sails in March, and there are 3 supplier spots left for the promocation in Los Cabos, Mexico. I tell you what, these experiences have been epic. You can ask anybody who has been part of it. They will tell you without any sort of prodding or cajoling that it's one of the best, if not the best, industry experiences from a networking and business perspective they've ever had. So if you're interested in learning more, check out promocations.com/events or send an email to relax@promocations.com. And if you're a distributor and you've always wanted to attend, but you've never had the opportunity, why don't you go ahead and send us an email as well? We might just have room for a few distributors as well. All right, up next, Nick Lateur. And before I get to our first guest, I would be remiss if I didn't thank the one and only Jason Noakes for that really kick-ass, guitar-driven, very angry, in a good way, theme music. So Jason Noakes from Pomo Pulse, thank you. Now, my first guest needs no introduction. So let me waste some of your time and introduce him anyway. Now, this person loves 2 things: people and Mondays. His people first attitude, along with a keen understanding of the emotional power of good marketing, have enabled him to thrive in the promotional products industry, most recently helping him land his new role as VP, it stands for Vice President, for those of you playing along at home, of revenue at Merch.ai. He lives by the mantra, if it doesn't make someone smile, it isn't worth your while. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Nick Lateur. Nick, thank you for being the inaugural guest on the Between Two Brands podcast. I couldn't think of a better person to help me kick this off. Welcome to whatever the hell this is going to be.
Oh, wow. That's so nice. Thank you. And thanks for the big check you sent me to be the inaugural guest. That's going to help. The holidays were rough. So,
I understand that. Don't cash that until March of 2027. Okay. If you notice, I post dated it for that reason.
fair. That's fair. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
All right. So what the deal is for this part of the podcast, it's going to be kind of very familiar, hopefully, for people who've listened to podcasts I've been on before. I asked Nick to bring a couple of topics. I have no idea what they are. We're going to just talk about them. They could be in the world of marketing, branded merchandise, promotional products, uh, uh, websites. Who knows what Nick's going to bring to the table? Nick, do you have a topic you'd like to talk about today? Anything. Nothing's off limits.
It's very and it's very recent. It's very topical as of the time of recording here.
Yeah.
We're in the marketing and branding space, and there's been a recent we'll call it request for rebrand that was made
Hmm.
yesterday by the incoming president to rebrand the Gulf of Mexico. I don't. Did you hear about
Okay.
this?
I did. I believe it's going to be, or the proposal was the Gulf of America.
Well, that's right. That's right. And just to put this out there, I hate politics. This isn't political by any means, but
Nope.
we're in the promo world. What rebranding's always interesting and important. The topic is, yeah, like I can't say with a straight. I'm trying to be serious about this, but should we rebrand? Should we re should we rebrand the Gulf of Mexico to be the Gulf of America? And I'm going to pose this to you.
Yeah.
Uh, I have my own thoughts on it, but what do you
You
think?
want me to go first?
What
You
do you
want me
think
to go
about the
first?
rebranding efforts? Yeah, how you're an
I,
expert. What do you think?
I, I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I don't, again, this is not a political discussion at all.
No, no,
I
no,
don't
no,
care
no.
who is in office. I think, what do you win by winning? So let's assume that the rebrand from Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of the Americas or Gulf of America takes. What happens? Is there some sort of revenue stream that comes with that? Is there some sort of I don't understand what you win by winning, which is something Kirby Hasseman would say. I don't understand what the point of that is, other than metaphorically saying we're the biggest, baddest country in this section of the world. So to me, it's silly. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's the correct answer. So I don't know if you have a buzzer like
Okay,
you
all
do,
right.
but
Oh,
that's
let me
correct.
write that down.
I'm
This is not
channeling
like
my
rapid fire with this is not like rapid fire with Kirby. I actually got the question right.
I was gonna say I'm channeling my inner Bill Petrie when I say that's correct. No, I just thought it was. Yeah, I immediately thought of our industry when I heard
Yeah,
heard this quote, and well, the first thing I did was I was like, hold for laughter kind of thing, right? Because I agree, it's
sure.
ridiculous, but um, uh, and also, like I love the USA. I'm a pretty patriotic guy, but that
Sure.
Gulf, if you look geographically, especially when we first named it, I want to say 80% of the Gulf was surrounded by Mexico. Now Texas is Texas and not Mexico anymore, of course. But
Right.
uh, what's wrong with Mexico?
You know,
That's my thought is no.
there's
Sometimes you
nothing
don't need
there's
to rebrand something that's already perfect.
no, but let me, if I may, reverse the whip a little bit and kind of ask you a
Ooh,
question. So let's assume this whole thought process by incoming President Trump takes hold, but they need to promote this name change. What branded merchandise would Nick Latour suggest to have full adoption of the name change from Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of the Americas? Because I think it's going to be a tough call. I know that technically Sears Tower is called Willis Tower in Chicago. It's still the Sears Tower to me. And I don't know anyone who calls it the Willis Tower. So tough. How are you going to promote that to get people on board with actually calling it the Gulf of America? And that doesn't roll off the tongue, by the way, like Gulf of Mexico.
it's fair. No, first step, get into the map game. I'm going to invest heavily into
Oh,
Atlas and into all
mhm.
the map makers, the cartographers that still exist. That's the new gold rush.
Okay.
No, my first thought on it
Globes,
was obviously like,
globes.
what's that? Globes? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you believe the Earth's round, whatever. But that's a whole different discussion, Bill. No, I think yeah, I immediately thought of this sort of like you know how a lot of times marketers will play off of existing logos, and you remember
Yeah.
the Gulf like sort of oil logo, if the old
Yep.
Gulf gas stations. I kind
Oh
of
yeah.
like pictured that, but maybe red, white, and blue, and like and there's a lot of like ways you can kind of
Yeah.
Americanize it, I guess. I think that there's an obvious demographic that will like go all in on it. The same people who bought the gold tennis shoes and the red hats and everything. You'll have a built-in base there.
Yeah.
But just to be clear, I don't think we should rename it. So,
Well, I don't either. I'm going to suggest one piece of merchandise though, if they're going to rename it. Remember those old school kind of almost football shaped foam, but with plastic over it, boat keychains?
oh yeah,
That for all the people who do have charters and small John boats and things, cigarette boats, things like that on the Gulf, whether it's in Mexico or the United States, that would be what I would at least after the cartographers were taken care of, which
right.
you know correctly you were. Oh, I like that. That is a great first topic between two brands.
All right, good. Well, it happened very recently, and I
It's
can't stop
timely.
I can't stop chuckling about it, and so it feeds my human emotion to like react to some sort of crazy thing or branding in our world, and I love it.
Absolutely. Do you have another topic you want to bring up?
My other
Anything?
top, yeah, my other topic is a little bit food related. You know,
Ooh, I like food.
they say we eat with our eyes. You
Yep,
obviously eat with your mouth.
I
Um,
do.
uh, uh, that's all.
That's it. That's the topic.
No, I wanted to. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
I'll be honest. Let me get this out there. Coming on to a show between two brands, I'm a little nervous. I don't know what to expect, and I feel a little defensive. So that was like a
Okay.
preemptive strike because I have a feeling I'm going to get some like arrows slung at me here. So,
Let me be clear here, and I think I have a long and rich track record. I have five easy questions I'm going to ask you, and they're five very simple questions, very much in the spirit of Zach Galifianakis between two firms, and it's just a way for not only me, Nick, but for the people who think they know you, but maybe get to know you a little bit better. So trust me, there's no gotchas here. This is not rapid fire with Kirby. There's no wrong answers here at all. Do you want to just do the five easy questions, or do you have a topic? It's up to you. It's your, as I used to say, it's your dime, your dance floor.
no, I kind of was being slightly serious. So,
Okay.
like because I love food as well, and it's not necessarily
Yes.
a marketing or branding thing, but it kind of
Doesn't
is.
matter.
It's to me like I've just been thinking about this. You and I have had conversations about food and about
Yeah.
diets and things, and um, so it's kind of like something I've been thinking about lately. And when I'm choosing what to eat, uh,
Hmm.
you have to choose healthy food, I guess. But like if I see
You
a
don't have to.
that's true, that's true. Um, I'm feeding off of something you actually I'm feeding off of your last episode that I heard of promo up front
Yeah.
and it's one of the questions you had was road travel, like you guys were talking about food on the road, and we
Right.
have
The restaurants you might run into, and would you pick this one or that one, like in an airport? Hmm. Yeah.
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 So does the logo like the does the marketing or branding of one of these chains restaurant feed into that at all for you? If you're going to go to either what was it, Red Lobster or uh, not Captain
Bonefish.
Bonefish? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Does the neon bonefish sign attract you more than the Red Lobster? Do those signs make you feel a certain way? Does that feed into how you make a decision on where you want to eat?
I think so. Because especially with legacy brands, brands that we may have grown up with, there tends to be some nostalgia tied into that. When I think of Red Lobster, I think of a couple things. My wife, Sandy, that's one of the places she worked when we were first dating. So I think of that. I also think that I used to get a really, really sugary sweet drink there in a tower with a collectible glass. So I don't even think of the food. I think of the drink and I think of my wife. Um, but I think it'll evoke something. So I think it depends what you're looking for. If you're something for quick and easy, for me anyway, I'm going to go with a known quantity. I know what I'm getting. It may not be the best, but I'm going to go with what I know is consistent. So if I'm in a hurry, if I'm hungry and I just need calories, I'm going with with something I know. If I'm less in a hurry, I've got maybe time to kill before a flight, I've been delayed. Okay, now I'll wander around a little bit. And in the branding, if there's local places, like if I'm in Philadelphia, and I've never been to a Chicky and Pete's, if you're familiar with that. And I don't, the only reason I brought this up is because I was recently in Philadelphia and I had time to kill. I'm like, all right, I'll try Chicky and Pete's. And you know what? It was airport mediocre. So, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and sometimes you just quite nonplussed. So I think it always influences. But like if we're talking true either or situation, Nick, like if you're in an airport and it's like McDonald's or Burger King, I'm picking McDonald's every time.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, like the reason what sparked this thought for me was being in a random town, like you said, or somewhere you haven't been, and you've got some options. I've myself been known to go, that sign looks kind of cool. I believe they put in effort into that.
Absolutely.
So I think they'll put effort into their food. Like there's like a subconscious kind of thing going on. So and it reminds me of our industry, obviously. Like what the way
Yeah.
we put things out there really, really makes a big difference as to how people perceive, your
Yeah,
brand.
I think so, especially, when I used to travel a ton. I'd find myself in whatever, Boston, Chicago, whatever. I would intentionally not go to chain restaurants. I would go on a walk or whatever and try to find something local. And that's when the branding, what you're talking about, absolutely impacted where I'd go.
Yeah.
So no, I think it's a great conversation. I think it's a great conversation. Hey, Nick,
Hey,
can I ask you five easy questions? These
I
are
would love
real
that.
easy questions.
I
All
would
right.
love it. I would love it.
Again, I think this is a real opportunity for not only me, but for all three of our listeners at this point to really get to know the one and only Nick Latour. So these are just five easy questions. Let me put on my reading spectacles so I
Yeah.
look serious.
Yeah, when you say these are easy and then you put on glasses, that's sort of a, I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
how to
I
sort of negate in
when I
that
put on the
glasses
when
on.
I put on the glasses, when I put on the glasses, I want you to think of me like Sting. If I have the glasses off, it means I'm performing. But if I have the glasses on, it means I'm thinking. That's
Those are
it.
nice glasses, by the way. You look very handsome.
Well, thank you. You're going to make my promo pants go crazy. All right, let's go. First question. Your name is Nick, right? Nick.
Yes.
Nick, this episode drops Friday or Friday after Expo. So this is going to drop on January the 17th. We're recording on Wednesday, the 8th, just so everybody can get the timeline straight. You're in a new role in a new company. How will you know if your visit to Vegas was a success besides not getting the bird flu and avoiding eye candy?
Well, there's two answers to this. One, every I've done the show what 10 years or so for 10 years. And you have an instant you can get an instant like this instant feedback of being in person when when you introduce something to people and you see a twinkle in their eye and you have this almost like physical like connection with them. I'll know during the show if it's a success. Um, in the long run. By Friday, I'll know based on how many people immediately sign up for our amazing service. I work for a company called Merch.ai, and we have an unbelievable suite of marketing and sales tools. And based on the demos and meetings I've had so far, there's going to be great. I'm very excited about it. But by Friday, it's going to be, what does my inbox look like? What is our new customer count? Where is that gone? Which I think will be high.
Awesome. I
And
think that's
not
a
having
great
the
answer.
bird flu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not getting the bird flu. Nobody wants the bird flu. No, sorry, I almost called you Kirby. See,
Okay.
old habits die hard, Nick.
I'm honored. I'm
Um,
honored.
you are well known to celebrate Mondays. What did the other days of the week do to you to hurt you on the inside?
Uh, can we leave Wednesday out of this? No, I
Sure.
got to talk about them all. Well, so it's
Hmm.
listen. I grew up. If the analogy is growing up in a family with a bunch of brothers and sisters, and Monday is the nurturing older brother uh, or sister. Sunday is just a bitch. Sunday just doesn't understand. So we won't talk about Sunday. Wednesday is in rehab right now. Friday's pretty cool. Thursday's gotten a lot cooler as we've aged. Like, it's like when we were young, we were always fighting, but now Thursday is kind of like, yeah, Thursday and I think are best friends. Um,
Okay.
but No, Monday's just always been like a motivator for me. Just you get up. Monday's the one that's like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. You're doing it. You're great, and like injecting me with pure sugar and caffeine. Uh, Not literally,
Yeah, I was
because
about to say I'm gonna thank you not to inject me, but thank you for the answer.
oh, I'll inject you.
Um, much like the Macarena, MySpace, the shake weight in the internet, it's pretty well known that AI is a fad. How do you plan on keeping your resume ready for, well, I mean,
Yeah, yeah, sure. No, I'll probably just be a podcaster, Bill. I mean, that's an easy thing. Anyone can do it, right? Anyone can do what you do. So
well,
simple, right?
yeah, I would that okay, you that hurt me. Okay, that's fine.
I'm sorry, I
Uh,
didn't mean to be hurtful. Again, I was
no,
the defensiveness. Um, no, the serious answer is
yeah,
that's a question, right? Is AI going to replace all of us? And I've always, since I've learned about what AI is, like I've never been afraid of it because
yeah.
all it does is allow us to be more human and be more creative, and it makes our days much more efficient. Allows us to make more money if you're a business-minded person. It allows us to connect better with other human beings and be creative if that's of the mindset. So, no, yeah, I mean. The real answer is yeah, maybe I'll need another job in a few years because of how things evolve, but there will be jobs out there for me to have to help, other people. So
And just to be clear, folks, Nick knew that one was coming. I never want, and I said this in the first part of the podcast that we recorded. These are just fun questions, and if I ever, I always want to make sure the guest, in this case Nick, knew what was coming. No one, don't want to make anyone feel foolish or look bad or anything. And so Nick knew this was coming, and Nick was absolutely okay with me asking a question. And I have to agree with you, Nick, real quick. I'm not going to interject generally during the five easy questions. I just want to get some flow down. But I will say, I think you're right. With the automation that you can utilize AI for, it makes you so much more efficient. I use ChatGPT as a brainstorming partner so often. Great stuff. And what you're doing at Merch AI is really cool. So encourage everybody to see you in Vegas. Let's settle this once and for all. Okay. I don't want to have this conversation any further after this podcast, Nick. Why
understood.
does In N Out stink so much, especially when compared to the greatness that is Whataburger?
Um, if we want to boil it down to one thing, it's the fries.
Okay.
If I'm being fully honest, I don't have a problem with their burgers. In fact, I kind of love their efficiency too. They have a streamlined service, but this is a bit of an apples to oranges conversation, Bill. Let's think about this. Does In-N-Out have a Dr. Pepper milkshake?
No.
No, 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 they don't. Okay. So that right there should tell you we're not talking about the same thing, right?
Does
Uh,
In N Out have spicy ketchup?
no, no, they don't. Now, listen, that's okay to each their own. But this is a conversation that is not it's not an even playing field. It's not apples to apples. This is like Premier League versus MLS if you're a soccer fan. This is the G League versus the NBA.
We're not being fair to In N Out even by comparing them to the greatness that is Whataburger.
Absolutely, absolutely not. By the
Okay.
way, their fries, like, and I'm not, I'm a very positive. I want to uplift everybody. That
Right.
I don't know what it is. I don't know
No,
if it's that potato. It's just kind of like a oily kind of. So it's fine.
I,
It's fine.
I love your positivity and I try to be positive everything as well. And I can tell you this, I am positive that In and Out's terrible. Okay, last question. If I'm looking for Southwest Austin's choice for hair metal and party rock, what band would you suggest I book?
There's no other choice than Prime Meridian.
Oh, okay.
Everyone knows Prime Meridian. At Prime Meridian
Yeah.
and if you're looking on Facebook or Instagram. Yeah, they're the obvious choice for not only Saturday night gigs at dive bars, but also 50-year-old birthday parties. Um, you'll like this. The last gig I went to, so Prime Meridian's I live in Austin and went to their last show. There was a young man who was in a fraternity at Ole Miss, and
Okay.
he was at the show, attending the show. He's home for Christmas break, and he came up to the band afterwards. I heard this secondhand, and he said, "Hey, I want to talk to my frat brothers. We want to hire you guys for a party in Oxford." And so
Yeah.
that's you don't you know that's next level when
That
fraternities
is.
50-year-olds and small dive bars that need extra attendance will want to hire you. So I don't think I have to say any more. It's Prime Meridian is Southwest Austin's greatest 80s and 90s hair metal cover band, bar none.
Absolutely. And Nick, and who's the singer again? I can't remember his
His
name.
name's Ronnie Jenkins. Now,
Okay.
he's troublesome. He's got some issues, but overall the vibes are immaculate, as the kids say, and
Do the
the musicians in the band are top notch. And if you can get past what Ronnie Jenkins looks like and kind of some of his attitude issues, like any other great hair metal band, then you'll love Prime Meridian.
Well, and just kidding aside, Nick is Ronnie Jenkins. And how long have you been doing Prime Meridian, real
You
quick?
can't prove
How
that.
long? I
Uh,
can.
oh, okay, you can.
I
Yes,
have. I've
I'm
never
believing
seen
here.
I've never seen you and Ronnie Jenkins in the same place at the same time.
Fair, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's purposeful. The band's
it
been
is
on for 6 years. Prime
Okay.
Meridian's 6 years old. We've done over ones of gigs, so in the
Nice.
double digits, yes. And
Tens
no,
of fans?
I would dare say hundreds, actually. We had
Okay.
a show where the fire marshal was called because the max capacity was about 150, and he was counting heads. So that's
Oh,
we're worse than you think, but we're also way better than you think.
I think that might be the best tagline ever. I really do.
Might be our new
You
tagline.
said you were purposeful that Ronnie Jenkins and Nick Lateur are never seen in the same spot. I'll tell you who else is purposeful, Nick. That's our friends over at Coaster Stone. You know, they're sponsoring this first inaugural. I guess that would be redundant. The inaugural Business to Between Two Brands podcast. You know, if you're looking for rock solid merchandise solutions, and these are products that your audience is going to use, they're going to keep, and they last for years, if not decades. The original absorbent stone coaster from our good pals over at Coaster Stone. They would love to work with you on a creative package for your next project with your clients. So hit them up over at promo@coasterstone.com. Nick, honestly, I couldn't think of a first guest when I started developing what I wanted this podcast to be. You were always first choice. And that's no Bologna, as the kids would say. If you say they're saying immaculate, then they're saying Bologna. But seriously, thank you so much for being here. You've always been very supportive of me, and truly, thank you so much. And I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time. I'm honored and have no reason not to be supportive of you, Bill. You're somebody I look to as like a beacon of light in our industry to challenge it, to promote it, and to take us into the future. And that's all I've ever wanted to do. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and I think you're being way too kind.
I am way too kind.